What's going on, guys? Love Smash, back with an all new video for you guys today. And ever since the reveal of the Nintendo Switch that is coming out next month, it's gotten me in the mood to make a lot more Smash Bros videos in terms of speculations and discussions of what could potentially happen in terms of Smash Bros for the Nintendo Switch. So that's what kind of led me to do a video last week where I discussed my top 5 picks for third-party characters, which I thought stood a very good shot, or at least should be considered, or I think the fans would want to see in the upcoming version of Smash Bros. For the Switch. So after doing that video, taking some time out, reading through the comments and stuff, I saw a lot of people saying that they don't believe there will be a Switch version of Smash Bros., meaning a full-fledged new title, similar to like every system we've had with GameCube, with Wii, with Wii U. There's been Melee, there's been Brawl, there's been Smash for Wii U. They're saying there's not going to be a brand new title, but rather than what Nintendo will do is end up putting a Wii U port out for the Switch, similar to what they did recently with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And that's what kind of made me want to do this video today, to share some thoughts and opinions in terms of what the positives and negatives are of doing a port, as well as the positive and negatives of doing a full-fledged title. So that's what kind of was the mentality going into this video, because when I was reading through those comments, it's like, okay, that's not a bad idea to do a port. But then a lot of people saying there's not going to be a full-fledged version got me thinking, why wouldn't Nintendo do that? So that's what I kind of wanted to do for this video, discuss some other stuff towards the end of the video as well in terms of characters and stages and so on and so forth. But for right now, really focus on that debate between port and new title for Smash Switch. So first up, a lot of people, like I said, seem to think that when it comes to the Smash Switch, it is going to be an updated port of the Wii U version, meaning they're just going to port that exact same version, add a few more characters, maybe a few more stages, and hopefully add the addition of an adventure mode, which the fans really hated, that the fact that the 3DS version had Smash Run, and yet there wasn't really anything adventure mode I guess you could say, if that's even a word, I'll just make it up, for Smash Wii U, except you count like, what was the thing? The Smash board game thing? I honestly can't even remember it because I never even played it. It was so long ago, I actually did. So it's funny to think, like, okay, a lot of people seem to think they're just going to take that Wii U version, maybe pretty it up a little bit, and pass it out as the Switch version and call it a day. Now, while that's all well and good, and Nintendo could do a lot of things in terms of that, now, when I think of this, I kind of think of, like, Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X, and Justice, where a year down the line or so, the developers would put out a brand new game with everything unlocked, all the DLC characters, all the skins, all that good stuff, which could be a potential option in terms of the Smash Wii U game for the Switch, the port. Meaning they could introduce that port, have all the DLC characters, stages, Mii costumes, anything that was introduced as DLC unlocked from the beginning, maybe add a few more characters here and there, because people aren't going to buy a game just to have everything unlocked. They're going to want something new and a new experience when they're playing if they're going to shell out money for a Switch. So add a few more characters that you won't be able to obtain on the Wii U or 3DS version, add a few more stages to coincide with those new characters, maybe add a few more Mii costumes, add an adventure mode, and there you go. It's not a bad idea for people just buying a Switch and want a good game to play. However, when people say they don't think there's going to be a full-fledged title, it makes me wonder, why wouldn't Nintendo do that? Because it's cool to start off with that Switch version of the port for the Wii U, but to think Nintendo is not going to put out a full version makes me really think. And I hate using this term and this mentality, but at the end of the day, it always comes down to money, money, money. Nintendo knows Smash Bros. Is a giant juggernaut franchise for them. It's the reason a lot of people actually went out and bought Wii U's, at least in my personal experience. That was the only game that really appealed to me, where I was willing to go out and shell out over $300 just so I can play Smash Wii U, even though that sounds crazy. Hell, it's the reason I went out and bought a Wii. I stood online the first day in 06. I knew Brawl wasn't coming out until 07, and it got delayed until 08, so that was almost 2 years I was waiting around to play that game. Of course, when it came to the Wii U, I was like, okay, when we have the official confirmation of a release date, then I'll go out and buy a Wii U. So that's kind of like the mentality I'm thinking of. Are people going to go out and shell $300+ just to play an updated port of the Wii U version? Like a few new characters in adventure mode and a few stages, maybe a few mechanics here and there. Is that going to really make people go out and want to play that game with the same graphics, the same characters, the same moves, all that stuff they had in the previous version? Personally, I don't think so. When I think about that, I think it's a cool placeholder and like thing to have in the meantime while they're working on a new version. But to say that is going to be the only version, it just doesn't kind of compute with me, because I think of that from Nintendo's money-making standpoint. Now, like I said, I'm looking at this from a Smash Bros. Standpoint. Of course, there's going to be a ton of other games Nintendo is going to end up putting out, like Xenoblade, or Super Mario Odyssey, or Zelda Breath of the Wild, or Fire Emblem, whatever the case may be, that people are going to want to go out and buy a Switch for. But like I said, I'm looking at this from a Smash Bros. Side. And Nintendo knows how big the hype was for Smash Wii U and 3DS. There was Smash Fest. There was Best Buys all around the country having this game on display, and the lines were out the door. The tournaments that happened at EVO, Amiibo sales. There's a lot of contributing factors that Nintendo knows and thinks this is going to make us the most money in the long run. Having the Nintendo Directs, people tuning in just to see if there would be a new character revealed. So I don't think porting a version of the Wii U version for the Switch is the only thing Nintendo would do. I think they may do it as like a placeholder in the meantime while they're working on that brand new title for the Switch that will inevitably come out sometime between 2019 to 2021, maybe being revealed the earliest 2018, 2019. So that's my mentality going into this, thinking of that Nintendo knows this franchise makes them a crap ton of money. It builds the most hype. And porting a Wii U version to the Switch necessarily is not a bad idea as a thing in the meantime. So when people were commenting that got me thinking, I mean, it's a great idea if they want to go ahead and do that, maybe add a few more characters, even out that character roster to make it look symmetrical, add a few more stages, maybe pop it into adventure mode or something to make people want to go back and play this game and rebuy it to have that fun on the Switch. But at the same time, I can't imagine that's the only thing Nintendo is going to do in terms for this franchise. But a port is not going to build the same hype as a brand new title would. People are going to want a brand new title with new graphics, new characters, different moves, game modes, mechanics, costumes, stages, unlockables, all that good stuff. They're not just going to want to say, okay, I'm going to go out and spend $300 on a game I basically already own just because they added a few new characters. Unless they're adding like 10 characters and 10 stages and an adventure mode and all that stuff to a ported version, like it's not going to make and build that same hype as a brand new title would. At least that's my thought process and my opinion. People may differ. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Like I said, I definitely think a ported version in the meantime is not a bad idea, but I can't imagine Nintendo only doing that. It's kind of like a cop-out in my opinion if they say, okay, we're just going to port the Wii U version and that'll be it. We're not going to do a new Smash Bros. Game. And a lot of people think that because, first off, that's the rumor going around, that there's a rumor saying that there is going to be a ported version for the Wii U, but people, I think, are taking that too literal and saying that's going to be it. And the second thing is that Sakurai has stated he may not return to do a new Smash Bros. Game, but that can get misconstrued 100 different ways because, number one, Sakurai changes his mind constantly. Two, Nintendo is not going to stop one of their biggest franchises because Sakurai, even though he's legendary and Daddy Sakurai, because he may not want to return. Just because one person may not want to come back does not mean Nintendo is going to stop a multi-million-dollar franchise because of one person. And I always say that, get that out of your heads. Sakurai always changes his mind, and Nintendo will just bring in somebody new to help develop and produce this game if he doesn't want to. So, like I said, that's just my thought process. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Do you think there will just be a ported version? Do you think there will be a ported version as a placeholder and a new version down the line, or do you just think there'll be a new version? Let me know in the comments below. So with that in mind, that kind of gave me the inspiration for this. I wanted to do two different top fives. One top five of newcomers I think will be added if it's ported, and another top five of newcomers that will be in the newer version that comes out some point a few years later down the line. So a few characters will be the same, a few will be different, but it all depends on timing and what is hot right now in terms of these games and these characters. So let's start this off right now. Whether it's going to be a port or a new version, the Inklings from Splatoon are number one on my list on both top fives. Splatoon is a huge new IP for Nintendo. Splatoon 1 sold extremely well. There is a sequel on the way. They are popping up everywhere. There's multiple amiibos. They're going to be in the Mario Kart 8 update for the Switch. The Inklings are just blowing up like crazy, and to not have them in there as Nintendo's new biggest IP would be an absolute travesty. So I'm definitely got to put them on the port version top five, as well as the new version top five of newcomers. Now for pick number two, I had this character on my older video when I did it last year of when Nintendo was actually the Switch being called the NX, and that is Isabelle from Animal Crossing. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to hate that idea and not like the fact that Isabelle would be a playable character. Everyone definitely thinks she's probably better suited to be an assist trophy like she is, but the fact that Nintendo just seems to love her, and the Animal Crossing being as big as it is and deserves more representation, I could definitely see her fitting the bill. She's kind of become that face of the Animal Crossing franchise. And now I know a common complaint will be, what type of moveset are you going to create for her? But if they can make a moveset for Villager, Refit Trainer, Fox, Captain Falcon, and a ton of other characters that people looked at and say, you can never make a moveset for this character, and they did, they can easily think of a moveset for Isabelle without an issue. And she is on both top 5s for the port and the new version as well. But now here's where it gets tricky with picks 3 to 5. Like I said, it is going to come down to timing and where we are in the current year. Now, if we're in the current year right now and they're going to put out a port, they could go, and I said this in my older video, with a Xenoblade character. That's a big franchise now. And with Xenoblade X that recently came out, if they were going to go with the port, I could see them possibly going with Elma or Cross. Most likely Elma, her being the main protagonist, even though Cross is on my original video, but that was before we got any news about Xenoblade X. However, with Xenoblade 2 coming out, and this is where it comes down the line of a new version of Smash Bros. For the Switch in like 2019, 2020, whatever, it could be the main protagonist, whoever that will end up being, from Xenoblade 2, unless they put out a third Xenoblade game somewhere at that point as well. But Xenoblade 2 being that sequel, I could definitely see that main character, that main protagonist being a playable character in a Smash Bros. Game. Because you gotta realize, they're always looking to promote and make money to sell other games. You add newer characters from newer games, people play that game like, oh, who's this character? Oh, he's from this game that just came out. Cool, let me go buy that game too. You gotta think of it from that standpoint. That's the character that's hot, that's the game that's currently out. Nintendo tries to cash in any way they can. So, like I said, either if it's the Wii U port version, I could see it being Elma or Cross, most likely Elma, or if it's a few years down the line, I think it'll be the main protagonist of Xenoblade 2. Now on to pick number 4, and yet again, this is another character pick which is going to come down to timing. Now, even though a lot of people are going to complain and say we already have too much representation for this franchise, I can definitely see Nintendo adding another Fire Emblem rep to represent for the current game that is out. Now, at the moment, we currently have 2. We have Fire Emblem Heroes that just hit the App Store, and we have Echoes on the horizon as well. We have Alm and Celica from that, and then from the Warriors version, we have Alphonse, Sharina, Veronica, or even the Summoner character they can go with. We don't know. Any of these characters could be viable options, but yet again, remember, if it's in the future for that new title of Smash Bros., there is a Fire Emblem game in the works for the Switch. So I definitely see if they go down the line, they would add that character as a newcomer to try to promote for that game. Now on to pick number 5, yet again, another time-sensitive character would be, if they did it right now, we know an ongoing trend is a new Pokemon rep. Now, you might be saying, why not go Incineroar from Pokemon Sun and Moon? But at the end of the day, I gotta go with Decidueye. And the reason is because we already have Charizard as a fire type, we have Greninja as a water type, we need a grass type, at least in my opinion. That's why a lot of people kind of really want a Sceptile in there. But Decidueye, repping for Sun and Moon, really unique moveset, and what he can bring to the table would definitely be a viable option. But if the game's down the line in the next few years, there will most likely be an 8th generation Pokemon game on the horizon where they can choose a new Pokemon from that game. So those would be my 5 picks. Yet again, Inklings and Isabelle are on both lists no matter what. If it's the Wii U port, I can definitely see them going with Elma or Cross from Xenoblade X, most likely Elma. They can go with one of those Fire Emblem characters that I mentioned with Alm or Celica, or either one of those from Fire Emblem Warriors and Decidueye from Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now, if this game is a few years down the line, like I said, I'm going with the character from Xenoblade 2, Fire Emblem for the Switch, and an 8th generation Pokemon. Those are just my predictions for newcomers. There are a lot of other newcomers as well people want to see. And for an unconditional, like, 6th man pick for the version that's a few years down the line, I can definitely see another third-party character being added to build that hype. If you guys want to see the video I put out at my top 5 picks, I'll drop the link in the comments and description below. And if you want to vote on the straw poll for that video, I'll drop the link in the comments below as well. But let me know what you guys think about this video. Do you agree with my thoughts about the Wii U Switch port and a new version? Do you disagree? Do you agree with my top 5s? Which characters do you want to see? Which characters do you not want to see? I got a ton of other videos planned, so be on the lookout for that. But anyway, guys, that is the video for today. I hope you enjoyed this. And like always, for all the latest latest fighting game news and speculation, be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon with a brand new video.